Hello everyone, welcome to What's Missing. Today we're doing kind of an informal video and just so I can get this content out in a timely manner. And so we're just going to talk about Pope Francis and this whole accusation that he was arrested on 80 counts of child trafficking and fraud and a bunch of other stuff. But as I look through this source from a conservative beaver, it seems that it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It says that Pope Francis was arrested on Saturday, which today is Sunday, so it would have been the 9th of January, in connection with 80 counts of possession of child pornography, human trafficking, incest, possession of drug paraphernalia, and a felony case of fraud, and that the Italian National Prosecutor's Office confirmed it, ordered the arrests, and filed the charges. It's kind of weird that, I can't seem to find this story outside of places that have been well known for creating fake stories, fake media. And this isn't the first time that this poster, conservative beaver SKPHJV, has made fake arrest posts. And I mean, that's a pretty reliable name, right? SKPHJV, right? Like we trust that. And granted, I'm anonymous too. But I feel like the difference is that I provide sources for the things that I say. What we're looking at here just seems to be just a whole lot of nothing. This is a Twitter post that it links to. Possible shots fired during Vatican blackout, hashtag Pope arrested. And they're playing a video of shots being fired. Actually, let me check this out really quick. I guess they might have been shots, but it's a camera of the nighttime, and it looks to be an entire area, and the person who posted it doesn't seem to be providing a link to where this video came from. Okay, so what evidence do we have so far? We have this guy's words, and then we have Twitter posts. This guy is citing Twitter posts. Basically, people saying there was a blackout. We don't have any proof that there was a blackout. And it's weird because the video of hearing gunshots, there's lights in the background that are turned on. Which, if there was a blackout, those lights would be turned off. So I'm just confused, how they're coming to this conclusion. All right, let's read the rest of this. Pope Francis is currently being held in an unknown prison, being interrogated. The FBI is reportedly making arrangements to fly in and interrogate him once Interpol is done with him. Is reportedly making arrangements? Reported. But I haven't seen anything to corroborate that idea. There's no link even on the article to connect that. Giuseppe Governale, Italia's chief anti-mafia prosecutor, was called in early into the investigation of Pope Francis and others within the Vatican. He said the group was underestimated and particularly dangerous because of its ability to proliferate across nations and infiltrate them. These individuals are truly the worst of society. I can promise you will not stop targeting human trafficking until we stop this despicable trade in the Vatican and Italy, as well as surrounding countries around Europe. Whether or not he actually said that, that's not proof that Pope Francis was arrested. That's like me saying Hillary Clinton is a child trafficker because somebody said they suspect the DNC or members of the DNC being involved in child trafficking. There's nothing specifically tying Pope Francis to this allegation, from what I can see anyway. In order to make the arrest, police and military agents had to cut off the power in the Vatican as well as dim the live cam. This was noticed by web sleuths who quickly became suspicious of what was happening in the Vatican. Following a nationwide blackout in Pakistan, there's now a widespread blackout in the Vatican. Again, if it was a blackout, why are there lights on throughout the city? There are lights on that bridge in the background. There's lights on buildings near the camera, which wouldn't be the case if it was a blackout. So nothing is corroborated here. We don't have, and granted, people are taking this as oh, this is a cover-up. This is this would be international news. We do have independent sources in China and in the U.S., But again, they don't corroborate their information with any sources or investigative reports. And the footage we do have seems to contradict itself. It's like I'm sitting here like this isn't enough. This isn't enough information to draw any conclusion on. So I kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, and again, if this was happening, major news outlets would be all over it. I mean, whether or not they would twist the story in such a way, hey, the people who are alleging Pope Francis did this are wrong. You can't have sexual abuse allegations or child trafficking allegations without hard or soft evidence. And hard evidence would be, oh, we have photos of him doing this. And soft evidence would be, oh, we have a witness. I mean, let's say, like the 2016 DNC email leak. Major news outlets reported on that. Whether or not some news outlets disagree on whether or not there was something fishy going on or whether or not the Russians were involved, major news outlets still published on it. They still gave an idea about or a perspective on what was going on. Here we have nothing but alternative media sources with no evidence to back up their claims. I mean, besides videos of skyline areas where there's apparently a blackout, but there's still lights, it's like nothing is adding up here. And I kind of have to take it with a grain of salt as a result of that fact. Like, if none of this is making any sense, then how are we supposed to believe it? Additionally, it's saying that the Italian prosecutor's office was the one who began this arrest of Pope Francis. But, I mean, we even have precedent. I've got some articles linked in the description. We even have precedent that this is not something the Italian prosecutor's office is capable of doing. They cannot arrest Pope Francis. There was a pope that came before Francis, let me pull that up really quickly, who actually has some pretty firm charges of sexual abuse against him, Pope Benedict. And his cardinals were even admitting, hey, he should stay in the Vatican because if he leaves, he could be arrested. So what does that tell us? It tells us that the Vatican is an area where a pope cannot be arrested. He cannot be, even by the Italian courts or the Italian investigative forces. But Pope Francis, if anything, he would have even greater protections under the system that's currently enacted in Vatican City. It doesn't matter if the Italian government wants to prosecute him. It doesn't matter if the American FBI wants to prosecute him. They physically cannot. It's impossible. It cannot be done. So I'm sitting here, we've got a precedent where popes, high-ranking officials like a president or a world leader like Vladimir Putin, where those top officials cannot be prosecuted. And yet here's an article saying the exact opposite against all information that we have, against all precedent, against any reliable source. We're kind of stuck in a situation where it seems like people are willing to believe whatever they want. And again, if Pope Francis did something terrible, like commit sexual abuse or was involved in child trafficking, I think he should be prosecuted. Whether or not he's active or an inactive pope, I think he should face the fullest justice under the law. But that's not how this current system works. Vatican City has not allowed this to happen to Pope Benedict, and it definitely would not allow it to happen to Pope Francis. That's just how their legislature, that's just how their law is formulated to protect these individuals. But we seem to be living in a world now, and perhaps it's always been this way. I wasn't living, back in the early 20th century or whatever. Perhaps it's always been this way, but it seems like these alternative news outlets are just getting more brazen, and people just eat it up, But it's a situation where we should all be concerned. It's a situation where we can do our own research and we can find out whether or not it's possible to arrest a pope. We can find out whether or not there's investigative reports to back up this claim. Whether or not it's an anonymous user that's posting it. But It's scary. It's scary. We're living in a world where people's ideas are ultimately formulated by what they want to believe rather than what's actually true or possible. Let's say they did just go arrest Pope Francis. That would be a breach of the way the Vatican runs itself. That would be an international crisis. That would be huge international news. There would be somebody talking about this. But instead, we've got a bunch of little figures. And granted, I'm a little figure. I'm smaller than conservative beaver. I'm as small as it gets. But guess what? I provide sources to back up my claims. I provide evidence. I provide some understanding of what's going on instead of just saying something happened and then expecting you to believe it. And it's crazy because some people do. Some people are eating this up. And I just thought I should make this video to help kind of clarify, is this even possible for a pope to be arrested? Is it possible for no major news outlets to report on this huge international event that would be happening if it was true? And the answer to both of those questions is no and no. And so that's just my thoughts on this. If you disagree or you have other sources or you have other information for me, please leave it in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Please talk to me about this, because I feel like this willingness to believe in things that just aren't true sets a terrible precedent, not just for the US, but for the entire world. We're entering an age where it is difficult to tell disinformation apart from information, whether it's from alternative news outlets or from major news outlets. They all lie and tweak information to suit their purposes. But we as individuals need to be hyper vigilant. We need to do our own research to at least find that line where it could be one thing or it could be another. And this is a story where it is a hard no. This is impossible. This is not only completely improbable, but the article itself doesn't even supply evidence. It doesn't have any sources. I don't know. It's like we're just at a weird impasse in our history right now. We need to be very careful what we choose to believe.